I wanted to take a look at some of the lobbying related terms that are found in California's Political Reform Act. Now, there are four types of lobbying filers in the state of California under the Political Reform Act of 1974 that's found in the California Government Code. In addition, there are several other definitions that those filing under the lobbying laws in the state should be familiar with when they're complying with the provisions of the PRA and the quarterly filing obligations that the different types of lobbying filers have to comply with. The first is Government Code Section 82037, which defines the term legislative action. And that's defined to mean drafting, introducing, considering, modifying, enacting, or defeating any bill, resolution, amendment, report, nomination, or other matter by the legislature or by either House or any committee, subcommittee, joint or select committee, or by a member or employee of the legislature acting in that person's official capacity. Legislative action is also defined to mean the action of the governor in approving or vetoing any bill. Section 82038 defines the term legislative official to mean any employee or consultant of the California legislature whose duties are not solely secretarial, clerical, or manual. Section 82038.3a defines a lobbying coalition to be a group of 10 or more persons who are formed primarily to influence legislative or administrative action, whose members make payments to the coalition for sharing the expenses of employing a lobbyist or contracting for the services of a lobbying firm. In addition, under Section 82038.3 subdivision B, a lobbying coalition is required to file the same statements and reports that a lobbyist employer does. A bona fide federation, confederation, or trade, labor, or membership organization is not defined as a lobbying coalition if it is ongoing in nature and its membership services are not limited to just influencing legislative or administrative action. Finally, under this section, a person making payments to a lobbying coalition does not qualify as a lobbying firm or lobbyist employer as a result of those payments to a lobbying coalition. Next is Government Code Section 82038.5a, which defines the term lobbying firm to mean any business entity, including an individual contract lobbyist, that meets either of the following criteria. The first is that the business entity receives, other than reimbursement for travel expenses, compensation for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action on behalf of any person or any partner, owner, officer, or employee of the business entity is a lobbyist. The other criteria is a business entity that receives, other than travel expenses, to communicate any compensation to communicate directly with any elected state official, agency official, or legislative official for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action on behalf of any other person if a substantial or regular portion of the activities for which the business entity receives compensation is for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action. The next definition to be aware of is Government Code Section 82039A that defines a lobbyist to mean either of the following: a placement agent, or the more common one, any individual who receives $2,000 or more in a calendar month, other than for reimbursement for reasonable travel expenses, or whose principal duties as an employee are to communicate directly or through an individual's agent with any elected state official, agency official, or legislative official for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action. In addition, Government Code Section 82039B states that an individual is not a lobbyist by reason of activities described in Section 86300. And section 82039 subdivision C says that a proceeding before the Public Utilities Commission does constitute administrative action if it meets any of the specified definitions, but it does not include communications made at a public hearing, a public workshop, or any other sort of public forum that's a part of an official proceeding, or if the communication is included in the official record of the PUC proceeding. Next, we turn to Government Code Section 82039.5 that defines lobbyist employer to mean any person other than a lobbying firm who employs one or more lobbyists for economic consideration for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action, or who contracts for the services of a lobbying firm for economic consideration other than reimbursement for reasonable travel expenses, again, for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action. Government Code Section 82043 defines a measure to mean any constitutional amendment or other proposition which is submitted to a popular vote at an election by action of a legislative body, or which is submitted or is intended to be submitted to a popular vote at an election by initiative, referendum, or recall procedure, whether or not the measure qualifies for the ballot. Section 82044 defines the word payment to mean a payment, distribution, transfer, loan, advance, deposit, gift, or any other rendering of money, property, services, or anything else of valuable, whether it is tangible or intangible. Section 82045 defines the phrase payment to influence legislative or administrative action, and that could mean any of the following 5 types of payments. First, a direct or indirect payment to a lobbyist, whether for salary, fee, compensation for expenses, or any other purpose, by any person who employs or contracts for the services of that lobbyist. Second, payment in support or assistance of a lobbyist or the lobbyist activity, including the direct payment of expenses incurred at the request or suggestion of that lobbyist. Third, payment which directly or indirectly benefits any elected state official, legislative official, or agency official, or a member of the immediate family of any of those 3 types of officials. Fourth, payment including compensation, payment, or reimbursement for services, time, or expenses of any employee for or in connection with direct communications with any elected state official, legislative official, or agency official. And then the 5th criteria under payment to influence is a payment for or in connection with soliciting or urging other persons to enter into direct communications with any elected state official, legislative official, or agency official.